From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN Noon News.
And good afternoon. Thanks for joining us on the Noon News. I'm Andrea Lutz. New at noon, Lake County authorities are investigating the death of a pedestrian after colliding with a train. Sheriff Don Bell says the incident happened Sunday afternoon in Ravalli. 47-year-old David John Matt Hammer was hit by a train and died at the scene. Bell says his body is at the Montana State Crime Lab for an autopsy, and we are waiting for more details surrounding what led to that collision. In Billings, the community is grieving the loss of 3 teenagers who died in a rollover crash. Troopers say a car with 4 teens heading south on South 64th Street west near Danford Road went off the road and rolled. 2 passengers, a 16-year-old boy and an 18-year-old woman, died at the scene. A third victim, a 17-year-old boy, died from his injuries over the weekend. Speed and snowy road conditions are considered factors. New at noon, Merrick Garland appeared before the Senate Judiciary Committee for his confirmation hearing, and he's promised to make civil rights a priority. Garland is President Joe Biden's pick to lead the Department of Justice as Attorney General. In his opening statement, Garland told lawmakers that advancing civil rights and confronting racial discrimination remain urgent. He also said battling domestic extremism will also be a priority. The House Budget Committee will take up a nearly $2 trillion COVID relief bill expected to make its way to the House floor for a vote. Along with stimulus checks, there's also an extension of $400 in weekly unemployment benefits. Democrat leaders vowed to pass the bill ahead of a March 14th deadline when those benefits are set to expire. This week, the U.S. is moving closer to approving a third COVID-19 vaccine. The FDA will review the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. The company says the shot is 72% effective and slightly less effective in countries where there is a variant. If approved, it would be the country's first single-dose vaccine. It can be stored at a normal temperature. The United States is expected to surpass the 500,000 mark for COVID-19 deaths. President Biden plans to mark this 500,000 death toll with a moment of silence and a candle lighting ceremony that will take place at the White House. Oh, the winter storm that hit Texas is now costing residents thousands of dollars in electric bills. Texans are reporting bills between $1,000 and $5,000 just for those first 2 weeks of February. The surge in pricing is hitting people who have chosen to pay wholesale prices for electricity. It's typically a cheaper option, but when there's more demand, those prices go up. The governor of Texas says lawmakers are working to address those costly energy bills. Energy bills might be going down in Montana with those warmer temperatures.
Tell you what, yeah, we got the strong winds out there, Andrea, but the benefit of that is those warmer temperatures, but unfortunately it doesn't look like it's going to last. Let's take a look at some of those peak wind gusts that we've had as of this morning. Near Sunlight Basin, 83 miles an hour, 82 for near Zortman, also Livingston. Near Geyser, we had a gust near 70 and 65 near Jordan. Now we're going to continue to see those gusts as we go along today as we take a look across the state. A gust just recently at Great Falls of 32, Livingston at 30, where they could see gusts over 80 miles an hour through this evening. We've got a gust reported of 43 recently in Miles City, and so that's going to continue at least through tonight. Hopefully it will start to taper off, but we're not done with the wind yet as we get into tomorrow, and I'll explain why coming up. But there's the benefit of those winds warming things up. A lot of temperatures in the 40s. We may see a lot of 50s today, but it will not last. We do have another cold front coming through the area, and we'll tell you all about that with the main forecast coming up. Andrew.
All right, Miller, thank you so much. An avalanche in central Idaho has taken the life of a man from Ravalli County. 30-year-old Andy Jessup was also a father to 5 and a member of the Ravalli County Police Reserves. He died in an area known as Smiley Creek in the Sawtooth National Forest. Investigators say the incident began Friday after Jessup triggered an avalanche while snowmobiling. He deployed his avalanche airbag, and that kept him above the surface, but then he died from blunt force trauma after colliding with a tree. So his body was escorted back from Idaho to Montana during this procession that you see right there. It began at Lost Trail Pass all the way to Hamilton, and members of the fire department, Montana Highway Patrol, Ravalli and Missoula County Sheriff's Office vehicles, they chaperoned as he returned to Corvallis. Well, Jessup's death marks the 29th avalanche death in 2021. Experts with the Sawtooth Avalanche Center are encouraging those in the backcountry to check avalanche conditions before heading out. And officials also say it's important for everyone in the group to have the proper avalanche equipment, including a beacon, a shovel, and a probe. A Boeing is under scrutiny in response to an emergency landing in Denver over the weekend. Well, the right engine of a Boeing 777 blew apart in the air and it caused pieces to land in the middle of a Colorado neighborhood. The FAA is ordering United to inspect all of that type of plane. It's the only airline that uses a specific Pratt & Whitney engine. In response, United is grounding the plane altogether for now. A Butte man faces felony charges in connection with an armed robbery at a Butte medical marijuana shop. Thomas Cockrell was charged for holding up the medical marijuana shop there that's on Harrison Avenue. The crime happened in the afternoon of February 13th, and he also faces probation violation and remains jailed on about $100,000 bond. Under a voter-passed initiative, recreational marijuana sales are supposed to begin in Montana by next year, but a state lawmaker wants to delay it for a year. Republican State Representative Bill Mercer of Billings introduced a bill to delay marijuana sales until January of 2023. His bill would also push back the start of licensing for sellers to October of 2022. Mercer says implementing the program means the hiring of more than 100 new state employees and setting up a massive, complex set of regulations. He doubts that that can happen in the next several months. Mercer also says a lawsuit is trying to invalidate the whole program, and it doesn't make sense to set up everything now if a court ends up throwing it out. So meanwhile, the governor is still drafting his own lengthy proposal to implement the marijuana program. Mercer's bill will be heard this week before lawmakers. All right, so Missoula shoppers now have another option for groceries. Winco held its grand opening for its latest grocery chain in Missoula this morning. It's located in the former Shopco building on Reserve Street. About 140 people were hired and trained, and managers say they're ready to go. COVID protocol will also be followed, and customers, you have to bag your own groceries. That's the Winco way. One employee said they believe Winco will change the way retail shopping works in Montana. A number of Winco stores already took over old Shopco locations, and both Helena and Billings already have Wincos of their own. All right, we do have more ahead on this new news on this Monday, including why there's a big conversation over our recent cold temperatures impacting the Bozeman community even after things have started to warm up. But first, Miller Robson's back in with a look at that statewide weather forecast.